Welcome back to Ford DentSide. As you can see, I'm doing a bunch of body work to this tailgate, and I'll give you a little once over of what I did. First thing I did was clean it up with some purple power, wash it all down, especially in here where the hinges are, get all the grease and everything out. Then I hit all the heavy rust with one of these flap discs, just gently grazing it, knocking it down, getting all the really heavy stuff off. And all the crevices and hard places to reach, like in between the lettering here, wire brush and a drill. And then I use the same drill and use one of these 3M pads. These things are awesome for stripping paint. When it comes to the rust's a little bit more difficult. I'll show you a bit of that. Maybe I'll even put it up here in the corner of the screen. You can see what I'm talking about. After that, I did the whole Ospho rust treatment. And the stuff works great, but it leaves behind a couple things. It leaves behind a little bit of scaliness, a little bit of white chalkiness to it that easily comes off with a scuff pad, one of these. But when I came back, I cleaned it all up. I used acetone to clean it thoroughly, and I noticed that a lot of the white chalkiness stuff was kind of going away, and then I also noticed that it was flaking a little bit. If there's any kind of oil or seam sealer or anything else, this stuff reacts weird with it. It leaves back behind the little sticky parts, and also my garage floor is kind of tilted this way a little bit, and then these corners down here, it got real thick and gummy and white and flaky, and it wasn't completely dry. I left the heater on overnight. We're in Western New York, it's cold, so I left it on. It still wasn't completely dry in some areas. I don't know if it's reacting with the paint, leftover primer in the crevices, I don't know. But what I ended up doing was cleaning it down completely. Then I Ospho'd it again after I wire brushed everything. There's a couple little spots of primer in the corners of the lettering here. I cleaned that all out, but this time I only waited about 15 minutes. I waited for it to turn color, it turned the rust black, and then I wiped this off just with a regular rag. Then I waited another 10 minutes, and then I wiped it down with a towel. And some acetone again, and then when I was done with that, I used some spray away glass cleaner, and I got it all clean. And yeah, a lot of stuff still came off, and I kept washing it until the rag was clean. Then when I was done with that, I did the scuff pad on it, and then I washed it down again with the spray away. Completely clean, nothing was coming off of it, the rag was clean. And then when I was done with that, I sprayed it with some of this stuff, self-etching primer. Works good. I kind of ran out at the end of the self-etching primer, and I used a little bit of just regular primer around some of the spots that were real light. And here we are. I'm starting to block. First thing I did is, I'll take you out of here. I know it's a little early for this, but because I took all those tonneau cover buttons, the cloth ones where you pop the button on, I took those all out, drilled out the rivets, and then filled this with the green Duraglass. So because I know I'm going to have some body work I'm going to need to do here, and then I found some other spots that I wasn't expecting, I put a little bit of guide coat on it, just so I could really get a good idea of how big the spots were. And as you can see, I got a lot to do. Now, when I get this tailgate painted, I'm probably going to come over the top with Line-X, and I'm not sure now if I'm going to go all the way to the bottom of these low spots or if I'm just gonna stay up here. We'll see what the guys at Line-X say. If it's gonna look silly, I'm not gonna go too far, because I'm probably gonna get the tops of my beds done in Line-X too. The only real other spots with dents in this tailgate are on both sides, here and over there. There is a couple dings in the middle here. You can see a couple low spots. There's one high spot right there, and then there's a couple more dings over here. Nothing major. I mean, I can barely feel it. A little bit of 3M body fill in there. I'll block that out, and that should be fine. The other spot is concerning is right here. This is a little wavy right here. I'm kind of concerned about that, but I think there's supposed to be a trim piece that goes over this, and it might hide most of that. I'm really not worried about it. It's the handle. It's gonna get banged up. I know that. This tailgate is not going to be perfect when I'm done. Absolutely not. But I'm gonna get it close to look nice. This is not a show truck. I'm gonna use this truck. I'm gonna drive this truck probably daily for when I'm blocking. I'll show you the blocks I got. I think I picked these up at a garage sale or something a long time ago, and these things are awesome. These blocks, I don't even know if you can get them anymore. But yes, they're pretty cool because you can take these rods out to stiffen how much this bends. Pretty cool. These all have the rods in them, and then this one does not. And this one, these are all metal backed, so you can put the sticky paper on them. And this one is hard, but softer-ish. Anyway, those are the blocks I'm using. Oh, I might as well show you the back side of this thing while we're at it. Backside looks pretty good. It's amazing that the inside of this thing looks the way it does. Because when I first started sanding this, the whole inside right here in this area was just probably an 1/8 inch thick of rust. I had to hit it with the grinder a few times to even smooth it down. And then when I used that 3M foam paint and rust stripper, it did the job, but it took hours and hours. And also all in here, all these nooks and crevices and all this stuff. That was not fun, but it's done, and I'm glad I did it because it looks a hell of a lot better. But there's a lot in here that you need to clean up. And also make sure that there's no grease or anything creeping out of these holes. So I cleaned that probably 5-6 times. We'll see how this goes. We will continue with this side, because this is the side that's going to get Bodywork. That back side is going to get Line-X'd 100%. So I'm going to do a bunch of sanding, Bodywork, filler. So you know what comes next. Super speed. I'm going to use the Duraglass in the worst spots and then finish it off with this Evercoat gold. I'm out of the 3M. I'm going to have to order some. I like that stuff. Not to say that there's nothing wrong, there's anything wrong with that. I'm used to the 3M kind. Did I ever tell you I love the smell of Bondo in the morning? Man. Now with this stuff, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but the best thing to do is get it on there and hang out and keep watching it. Because once it starts to get hard to the point where you can sand it, it's time to go. Do not sit and wait and let this stuff completely harden, because it's like concrete. really hard to sand. Better to get it when it's a little bit soft. I like to have this stuff hardened right on the knife, whatever you want to call it, spreader. And then once it hardens, it'll peel everything right off. And the rest you just take off with a razor blade. Scrape this down with a razor blade real quick and let that set. And then we will get ready to start sanding. All right, my first layer of Duraglass is on, and I've been doing the scratch test, basically taking a piece of 40 and just gently, like not even putting any pressure on it, just gently scratching it and getting this kind of stuff off. Knocking all the big stuff off, all the corners. Unfortunately, it did peel in one or two spots for me. Don't know if that's going to be sanded all the way down or what. If I have to put some more on there, not a biggie. And right here it peeled too. But the rest of it has been scratched. I knocked all the major stuff off. Now I'm just waiting for it to cure. It's pretty cold. But yeah, you just want to get the big stuff off. It's getting there. All right, it's been about half hour, 45 minutes. I went around with the 40 and I feathered everything out till it feels almost flat. Feeling pretty good. There's a few high spots in here, which is fine because I'm going to do lots of sand in here, but it looks a lot better. That's almost right on. So is that. Well, a little high in the middle. But we're getting there. So now it's time to get out the block and try and flatten out some of these high spots on the lip here. And we'll get as close as we can. Hopefully I don't have to do a whole lot of Bondo work. And it's looking good so far. Let's keep jamming. So we use the medium large block here with some 80. This is, I think, Duragold. Yeah, Duragold 80. First time using this. See how it works. I need to get a mask. All right, that's as far as I can go. I'm gonna have to put a little primer on this and then block it down and see what I got. That feels pretty good though. It's a lot better than it was before. It's a low spot right there and a high spot right there. Yeah, that's low right here. Alrighty then. I got her all cleaned up. I just wiped her down with acetone. There's a couple low spots. There's one here. I believe there's one maybe right here. Yeah. Definitely here. So we're just going to take a pencil, Mark this. I'm sure a lot more is going to show up once we prime this. But I think what I'm going to do is take a little Bondo and hit a couple of these low spots. You can see right there, that's low. See how you can still see how granular that is? Same here, just a little tiny bit. So I'll go over and skim it real light with some of the body filler. It's a couple little dents right here and here. I'm not too worried about it. There are little spots where you can see where the spot welds were, and that's from the factory. I'm not going to mess with that. Is it going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Is it going to be really, really close and a 20-footer? Yes. It does not have to be perfect. It just has to be presentable. Not too bad for a 50-year-old tailgate. She's looking good. Remember what I said about the spreader? Let the stuff dry on there. It's concrete, but it all eventually peels right off. And you got yourself a pretty clean spreader. Not too bad. Got it all mixed up. That is it. For the so-called bodywork. Now, like I said, it's not going to be perfect. This is just to get it close. Am I a body guy? No. Have I done this before? Yes. And I'll show you. This car was completely sandblasted down to bare metal. And you can't see it from here. But you can see the reflection of the lift in the door, and it's perfectly straight. Not the very clearest picture, but you get the idea. I'm not a professional body guy, but I painted this car, I did all the body work, all the metal work, and it came out really nice, if I do say so myself. So I'm done patting myself on the back. Hopefully this turns out good. We are not in ideal conditions, but I'm gonna sand this down and then I'm gonna primer it with this stuff and then let it dry overnight. And I'm sure tomorrow I won't be able to move my shoulders or arms because I've been sanding all day and I haven't done this in a long time, so I'm gonna pay. But I'll show you what we got going on outside. The truck itself has damage. I did not get a tailgate with this truck for a reason. I don't know if the guy smashed it or what, but here is the deal. The kid that drove this thing before damaged it, and I didn't see until I showed up to buy the truck that he also crushed this corner in. A little bit of peeling paint. And he also squished this in. Don't know how good you can see that, but this whole piece here is kind of bent in this way. As you can see that compared to that. Nice 90-degree angle. And then this is not so much. So we're gonna have to pound that out. It needs a new taillight. And that bumper is going away. That thing is ugly. But I took the door cards out of this thing, and I'll tell you what, this door is all metal, no rust, and it looks great. I got the seat cushion in today. I got the new dash pad in today. So that'll all be future videos. All right, it's time to wipe her down and spray some primer on her. I forgot to mention, when I started doing this bodywork, there's a bunch of big dents in the top of this tailgate. And what I did was weld a screw to it, pop the dents out the best I could, and then filled them with a little Duraglass and went from there. So far, she's looking pretty good, and she feels a lot better. No giant low marks from all those buttons from that tonneau cover. Busted the tip off. Very clean. So we'll let this dry for a minute. Put the primer in the can heater. Take a break, come back, spray this. That's it. That primer's most likely going to be sanded off. So it did drip a few times, not a big deal, but she looks a lot better than she did before. There was huge dents in here and in here. She looks pretty good. Okay, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching.